Hey everybody, I'm gonna apologize in advance that this might be long. But you know what? Actually, I'm not gonna apologize for it because everything that needs to be said is gonna be said. It might take 5 minutes, it might take 50, so just buckle up because I am bursting with excitement, with gratitude, with hope, amazement, and just awe of how God strategically works in our lives even when we don't know it. I've told this to people before when I say I'm so glad that God blesses us beyond what we have prayed for two reasons. Number one, we are limited in our thinking. So if we are only receiving the blessings that we are praying for, already we're missing out. And then number two, sometimes we have desires that are tucked deep within our heart and within our soul that we are afraid to put out there, and even in our private time acknowledge and ask God. So that's why I'm so grateful that he moves beyond what we even ask or think. That's biblical. So if I were to just come up and tell you that next month I'm going to be flying to Morocco to attend a retreat and birthday celebration of one of the world's most powerful and influential leaders, I wouldn't be lying because that's what I'm going to be doing. Some of you may be saying, you are so courageous, and I get that a lot, and I find it flattering, but I also find it comical in a sense because I probably would not be saying this, if there weren't steps that I've gone through over the last 2 years, but this is where I'm landing, which is still kind of just the beginning. But I want you to think about when you are doing things, when you start to do things. So for me, my journey started about 2.5 years ago, and I signed up for a speaker coaching program. Shout out to the one and only Dr. Kristen Guillory. And that was my first time doing any type of group experience. And part of that program involved us meeting up in Florida for a retreat. Now, I had never done anything like that before, where I flew into an area to hang out with women that I did not know, but because we had already started forming a relationship in our Zoom meetings the weeks prior, I was open to it, and plus I had paid for it. It was included, so I wanted to make sure I got the most out of the investment. So I showed up, and when I tell you, it was like such an amazing experience connecting with women from different states within the US, and genuine lifelong relationships being built, the support. We were all there for the same reasons. It was just, it opened my mind. It opened my mind and willingness to say yes to more experiences, so much that I contacted the one and only Kanuma Simmons from the US Virgin Islands, who was hosting a trip to Greece through her brand, Girlfriendism. And again, I didn't know any of the women other than her, and I had just met her, so I reached out to her and asked about attending the trip. And I'll be honest, like 2 days before I got ready to go on that trip, it really hit me, like the gravity of it hit me. And I literally cried, like real tears, not like crying inside, but like crying inside and outside. And I was telling my husband, like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? Like, I'm going to be flying and I don't even know these women. That was my first time flying internationally without him. And it just hit me like, what if I don't know these women? What if we don't gel? And so then I did this little self-talk, and I was like, girl, there is nobody forcing you to go. Worst case scenario, you just lose your money, but you don't have to go. And then I gave myself permission to say, yeah, but you're going to go. And so I went, and it turned out, again, to be an establishment of relationships. And I'm looking at this expansion that's occurring. So the first retreat, I'm meeting women in the United States. Next retreat, I'm meeting women in the US Virgin Islands. So we have now left the continental US. So the following year, a friend of mine reached out, and she said that her book club was going to Mauritius to celebrate their 10-year anniversary, and asked if I would like to come along. And that was a little bit easier because, number one, I've done this like once, twice, 3 times a retreat. Okay, sorry. But I also knew her, and I knew her sister. So I was like, you know what? Yes, I want to go. And let me tell you, that has been one of the most life-changing, transformative events of my life, because not only was it a network of women who I met who were so inclusive and loving, but it also was like a homegoing, because what I forgot to mention is one of my friends that I met through the Girlfriendism retreat, Leah from St. Thomas, shout out Leah, she encouraged me to do one of the ancestry tests, because I was telling her how I so admired how the women that I met on the trip from the U.S. Virgin Islands, it's like they carry themselves with this pride, like, you know, from a sense of knowing who they are, who their grandparents and great parents and, you know, their ancestral line. And I was telling her that, you know, I don't feel like that sense of like deep connectedness and rootedness, because after all, going years and years back, you know, we were taken from our homeland and then all these different places. So we have the African diaspora, and, you know, we end up where we end up, and, you know, that kind of thing. But she encouraged me to do the test. So I did, and found out that the number one ethnicity was Nigerian. And so now fast forward back to, I go on this trip and I'm surrounded by all of my Nigerian sisters. And so it was a soul connection there as well. And so over the course of this year, we just celebrated that trip. It happened a year ago. And over the course of the year, those relationships have continued to blossom and strengthen. And as a result of this network of women, I met my mentor, the one and only Mrs. Udo Okanjo. And she has been so many different things to me. When I first heard about her and started researching her, it was like everything that she was saying was just resonating with me in such a great way. And the vision that I had for my life, like, she was already living it. So we connected, and she's having a retreat in Morocco. And of course, do you think I'm going? Yes, because I already said it. And if I didn't say it, you probably could figure it out that yes, I am going. And guess what? I'm going to be meeting women that I don't even know, and they're going to be represented from different parts of the world. So I share this story with you for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think back to networking and how people have always said it's so important to networking. You've heard your network is your net worth, which is true. And I think about the traditional forms of networking. So when I was a real estate agent, we were told wherever you go, whether it's just to the supermarket or if you're in the carpool line, always have a card, always strike up a conversation, because you just never know when you're going to meet that person who may need you now or need you in the future. So when I think about networking, it's more from a transactional standpoint, or let's go downtown, the chamber is having a mixer, let's go mix and mingle. And I did those things because, you know, I'm a good student. If you tell me to do something, I will at least give it a try. So I've done those things, and it's not that I haven't seen results, but it's just not my thing. Like, it's not my natural default to do it. It takes effort, intentional planning to do it. But on the other hand, what I've realized is the things that I love doing and being led by those things, which is travel, connecting with women in circles, well, not physical circles, but like sisterhood circles, specifically with self-improvement, introspective type content. I love that. I absolutely love it. And it really didn't dawn on me until this year, reflecting on the 1-year trip to Mauritius, that over the course of 2 years, my network has organically expanded geographically with each trip, meeting more and more prominent, influential people. I could not have done that if I had stuck to the traditional means of, okay, I'm going to show up to this networking event, I'm going to go to this mixer, and plus it's not even as fun anyway. So I said all that to say that don't be afraid to follow where your heart is leading you. There's a divine compass that's located in each and every one of us. And it's okay to follow it. You can trust it. I still remind myself of that on a daily basis. And that's why it's important to have mentors around you so that they can remind you of that as well. And I want to read this scripture to you all. So it's Isaiah, the 43rd chapter, verses 18 and 19. And it says that, remember not the former things, neither consider the things of old. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. So it will be apparent that there are new things. So be open to the new things, the new strategies, the new ideas, the new insights that God places in our hearts. You know, our brain is not the only place where we come up with ideas, okay? If you get quiet and still enough, you will sometimes get like a divine revelation or a drop of knowledge, and you're like, where did that come from? Like, it came to you so fast, it didn't even have time to be processed by your brain. But those are the things that make the biggest difference. And when I talk about the networking, I call this like networking to the max. And I absolutely love it. I cannot wait to experience the magic and the divine impartation that I already know is going to occur in Morocco. And from there, the relationships that continue to expand. Y'all, I am a global speaker. And when I first said that, it hadn't even happened yet. And then look, God started positioning me and put me in places where I am speaking globally, but not just speaking. That's not the goal, but it's to help transform the lives of people on this earth. I was never meant to just stay within the constraints of Charleston or South Carolina or the United States or North America. My brother once said he think I'm actually going to go to the moon one day, and maybe I will. It's not far-fetched. So I'll just encourage you today to follow the path that makes the most sense to you. Because again, I could have stuck with the traditional way of networking, or I can do it my way. And I like my way.